Welcome to the Built to Last podcast, a community for coaches founded on the principles encourage, equip, and empower. We are performance coaches working for eternal purpose. Now, here are your co-hosts, Charlie Ray and Justin Bentavania.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Built to Last podcast. On this episode, we had Coach Finley. It was an amazing episode, guys. Built to Last is a ministry. We want to focus on three things. We want to encourage the listeners with great content. We want to equip you guys by allowing you guys to have these resources. And then we want to empower you through faith and through strength and conditioning strategies.
No, that's a great point, Coach. And everything that's been going on right now on social media with people liking, sharing things, it's been really encouraging for us. And so we truly appreciate everyone who does that. This month, guys, verse of the month comes from the book of James. It is chapter 1, verse 19 and 20. It says, "Know this, my beloved brothers, let every person be quick to hear, slow to speak, slow to anger. For the anger of man does not produce the righteousness of God."
Guys, this episode, Coach Finley, he's kind of been all over the place. A quick bio on him. This episode was filmed actually during the football season. So he was the former head strength conditioning coach for Troy University. He's been all over the place. He was at Auburn for a time. He was at Arkansas State. He was also at UAB, and he also had some strength conditioning experience in the high school level. Very, very well-versed in the Southeast, but a great guy.
And in this episode, guys, what you're going to hear from Coach Finley is really a lot about how he intentionally pours into building these guys, not just as athletes, but as men. And so you guys can sit back, relax. This was a great episode. We took a ton away from it, and I hope you do as well.
All right. Hey, guys. Welcome to the episode. We're here with Coach Finley, and we just wanted to, go ahead and just go right into it, Coach. What's your background with strength conditioning? How'd you get into it? What's your why with coaching, everything?
Awesome, man. My background in strength and conditioning started in high school. I was very fortunate in the late 1990s, man. Coach Spence McCracken and Coach Grider and some of our coaches, man, they were kind of on the head of the curve with high school strength and conditioning. And they really took it serious. And just seeing what having that approach and that structure and strength and conditioning in the high school did for our team mentally was where it all started at for me. And me being just a natural strong guy, man, I was one of those guys that gravitated to the weight room and just fell in love with it. When I got a chance to go to college at Tuskegee University, it was a different approach. It was more kind of like the powerlifting, bodybuilding type approach. So I got a chance to go through that kind of system also. And then when I got ready to go train for my pro day, I went to Vitality Healthcare in Atlanta, Georgia. And that was where I really fell in love with training. It was a movement-based approach. It was the first time where we just put everything together, lifting, sprinting, ground-based movements, and I just seen how it made my body feel, seen what it did for me. Had access to a ton of modalities from chiropractor, massage therapist, laser cupping, you name it, man. We had everything at the facility, and man, I felt leaving out of there better than I ever felt in my whole life, and me just forming my own style, man. I said, hey, that's how I want my athletes to feel.
And Coach, building on that, so as you progressed into your career professionally, transitioning from athlete and then to a coach, what is your coaching philosophy, programming-wise, and then also the art of coaching?
When you talk about programming, definitely movement-based. I feel that sport is movement, and for as a philosophy, I feel you have to be able to move well, and before you start loading our athletes. I think that's the most important thing that an athlete does is move. So I think as coaches, we really have to have an eye and understand how athletes should move in all planes of motion. And then, strength is a byproduct of movement.
Oh, that's awesome, Coach. It really does sound like you had an opportunity to feel the movement, the effect of solid movement training before, proper movement before proper loading in your own training And now you're on the flip side. That's kind of set your foundation into how you go ahead and train other athletes. I want to tie more into the spiritual side. What is your kind of faith story throughout this whole journey with becoming a strength and conditioning coach, and your role, kind of as wanting to help guys develop character and that kind of stuff in your philosophy of coaching?
Yeah, on the faith side, probably grew up like a lot of people, man. I grew up in the church. My mom would go work long hours at night, but every Sunday, man, my grandma would load about 10 of us up, and my granddad, every Sunday we're heading to church. So we'll all be piled up in the station wagon heading to church. I grew up, man, in a Christian background. I grew up giving my life to Christ at a very young age. And I grew up having that relationship at a very young age. But also, I got a point in my life where, what I was saying, for as me being a Christian, it wasn't equaling to the lifestyle of a Christian. I wasn't living it. And man, just to be honest, it's something that I struggled with for years. I struggled with it in college. And, one day, man, one of my mentors, I got a chance to sit in a room where he was preaching, and, he asked, right now, if this roof caved in on you and bam, you're taken away, where would you spend eternity? And me growing up in a church and me having a church background, like knowing every Sunday, like you're going to go to church, man, like it was just total conviction that I couldn't answer that question, So man, I just got myself back on track with a help of a lot of mentors and a lot of men around me, man. I just started slowly, just trying to be around men that were living the life that I wanted to live. And that's where I'm at now, man. I hang around, and I want to be around people that I admire, people that that I look up to. And those are the guys that I'm constantly reaching out to, constantly talking to, guys that are about action, guys that are doing it. So that's my faith in a nutshell.
That's so incredible, because it reminds me of a verse that talks about bad company corrupts good character.
No doubt.
There's really a lot of verses in the Bible about that. Iron sharpens iron, so one man sharpens another. And then even surrounding yourself, in the Proverbs, it talks about surrounding yourself with counselors before you go and make war, before you make your battle plans. Make sure you're talking to your counselors. And that's kind of what I see in your life from what you're describing, is that you are trying to surround yourself with mentors. And part of the role of a mentor is to be that type of father figure, especially in our role as coaches to these athletes. If you could go into some details on your role specifically as a father figure to these athletes, to these men and women, specifically today, because the father figures are, who knows where they are a lot of times.
Right. With these guys and with these athletes, like I tell them, hey, I'm going to treat you like you're my own. So first thing is very important to build relationships with these players. And I'm constantly preaching that to our staff. I'm constantly preaching that to our guys that are around our athletes. It's so important to build that trust. And when these guys get to trust you, and when these guys get to know that you care about them, then they respect you a lot more, and then you can deal with them a lot. You can deal with them a lot more, because again, I think I'm a very high energy guy. I think I'm very demanding, and I'm hard on them. And it's not never degrading or putting them down. It's hard on them because life's gonna be hard. Football's hard. The outside of here, when they leave out of here, is going to be really hard on them. So these guys know that Coach Finley care about them. Coach Finley is tough on them, but it's never in a degrading type way.
And Coach, when you got into the field, did you get into it knowing that strength and conditioning had such a heavy influence on young men and women to be a role model, or was it more so you got into it because you love the training side of things and things like that?
Man, I got into this field because I love to train, man. I was so addicted to the gym. I'm talking 2-3 times a day. like Charlie was talking about earlier, like the gym had turned into my God. Like I would be up there on Saturday nights when everybody else out partying. Like I'm in the gym at 12, 1 o'clock. Like I was just so just infatuated and over the top with the gym. And, I was very fortunate to link up with Ryan Russell. He's the head guy at Auburn right now. And man, he's just the way he went about his approach to training. Zach Woofin, one of the best leaders, man. You're talking about leaders in the world, man. Like his style and his approach. Those two guys, man, really helped shape and mold me more than they would ever know.
I think that's actually how we got hooked up with you through Coach Woodfin on our 3rd episode. He recommended we reach out to you as well. And so
yeah,
we appreciate him doing that. He obviously thinks very highly of you as well. Coach, if you don't mind, obviously I know you had just had a son. Congratulations. Do you mind talking a little bit about that now, how obviously you're trying to be a father figure to the athletes in your work. Now, what about transitioning your mindset a little bit now to being a father for your newborn son? I know you have a daughter as well, right?
Yeah. Yeah, obviously, first and foremost, man, like we spent a lot of time up here, and with these guys, man, they get to see me as a father. They don't just get to see me as a strength and conditioning coach. My son, my wife, my daughter, like everybody, they're up here. My son, my wife, they stay here in Troy, so they're always coming through the facility. My wife makes cookies and sweets for the D-line. But man, like, it's very important that those guys see me in that role versus seeing me as the strength coach that they see me in 80% of the time that they're around me. Man, it's for me, like, I think one thing that you'll do, and I used to always, like with Coach Woofin, Coach Woofin used to get out there and go see his family. And like now that I have my little boy here with me, man, it's kind of the same way, man. It's like it's not a wasted second. Like when it's time to get out of here, like we're gonna get in, we're gonna work, we're gonna do our job, we're gonna do it at a high level. But when it's time to go, like there's no sitting around the office anymore. I'm out of here.
Yeah. And Coach, and what about you being the spiritual leader of your home, you and your wife? Is there anything that you're doing to lead her spiritually, or maybe it's like a devotional time with your wife and your daughter right now? Anything that you do to lead them spiritually?
Obviously, with my daughter, my daughters don't stay with me. She stays about an hour and a half from me. But just like a wise man once told me, either you're coaching her or somebody else coaching her. So she's getting something from me like every morning. She probably get tired of me. She's like, Dad, why you up? Like she's always going to receive something from me. I'm always texting. I'm always just talking to her. Just being real, man. My daughter's a teenager now. So, when you're 16, 17, like you're at that age. We all been there. But I just try to offer her real advice. She's a great young girl, man. She's a believer. I know she's gonna spend her life turning in heaven. So that's the greatest joy you can have as a father, knowing your kids are believers. With my wife, yes, as a leader, just constantly just encouraging her. Also, with her and this transition that we have. This is my wife. Time that she hasn't this is her first time where she hasn't been working, so it's a little transition period for us with the baby and everything. So just constantly encouraging her. But man, like having a believer as a wife has been unreal, because I think, to be honest with you guys, she's probably been encouraging me more than I've been encouraging her these last 3-4 months.
And it's hysterical that you're saying that. So me and my wife were actually cleaning up some leaves on our front lawn yesterday, and she was holding the bag and I was bagging the leaves, and she is just encouraging me left and right. And then it's hitting me like I haven't said anything to her. And we're encouragers at work all day, every day. We're trying to build these kids up. Obviously we correct when we need to correct, but I'm like, man, what am I doing? And now, so yesterday she's telling me I'm not encouraging. Now you're telling me today. So this is maybe a sign from the Lord. I got to step it up a little bit. But no, it's a great point. I think as husbands and fathers, I think one of the best things we can do is encourage, because so many times, if we see an athlete doing something wrong technically, we're quick to correct, the negative. Or if someone gets in trouble, right, we discipline them. And so I think some of the most powerful ways you can affect change is actually through positive and encouragement. And I love that you mentioned that about the way that you lead your wife through encouragement. It's awesome.
Yeah, too, if you look at like what scripture says about that in Hebrews 10, it talks about encouraging each other daily so that you're not deceived by sin. So when you're not encouraging each other, you're forgetting to meet together to spur each other on towards love and good deeds. You are, becoming deceived in a way. And then also with instructing your children and leading your family, Ephesians 6 is a great reference to look at that, to say, build them up in the Lord. But Coach, I wanted to talk to you about, you said something, and Coach Woodfin talked all about this in his episode. You get in and then you get out. You're efficient with your time. And he's kind of saying the same thing, because your time matters and it's very valuable. How do you focus on empowering and instructing and building your staff as the leader of your staff? How do you kind of teach them these same things? Because, some of them may not be able to have some of those balances in their life. They may be a workaholic and not really know the importance of it. What do you do to empower them and to instruct them and to build them up?
I think the most important thing I do is just show them. I think as a leader, you have to lead by example. So again, getting in, and when we're here, man, we're working. And when it's time to go, like, we're not just gonna sit at a desk. We're not just gonna just be sitting around. When you're here, I want us here. I want us working. When it's time to get out of here, then I want you guys out spending time with your families and things like that. So having young coaches on our staff, my staff is very small. Having young coaches on our staff, I think just letting them know, hey, when you get in, I have a checklist for them kind of in the morning, and now they got it where they can just pretty much roll. They know their responsibilities. And then after that, I would just encourage them to keep working, find ways to make our staff better. But when it's time to go, it's time to go. When it's time to work, we're going to be here. We're going to work. But when it's time to go, it's time to go. So just educating them on that, and then letting them know too, like, man, like with me, all right, this is my vision. This is what I want. But also, man, you guys are very young in your coaching career. Like, the next place, it may not be like this. So don't get comfortable, being able to get out of here, all right, at 4:00,
And then, Coach, do you mind just touching a little bit on how you break the staff down roles-wise? Because obviously I know you said you have a great staff there, and I know it's a smaller staff. How do you kind of split up responsibilities?
Well, obviously, with your personnel and the strength and experience that our guys have, you try to just go from there where guys' fits are. For example, we have an assistant that oversees the catapult side. He's into science. He loves it. He gets excited about all type of scientific things and the metrics and being able to do that. So I want him to stay on that side. I got a guy with me that's, that played and was a D lineman that, lost a substantial amount of weight. And when he lost weight, his game went through the roof. So have him kind of oversee some of our weight loss and weight gain guys, because he can relate to them. It's fun for him. I got a guy that just ton of energy and just, really fiery guys. So just know kind of who to place him with and know what kind of role to give him. So it's all about personality and fit. But when it's like, we're all going to work together, but just giving guys assignments based on who they are and their areas and their strengths.
No, that's awesome. It reminds me of a good leader is able to see where they're weak at and to help them, but then also to help them learn where they're good at, where they excel at, and play towards their strengths. And one of our jobs as a Christian strength and conditioning coach is to present Christ in such a way where we are, living it out in our actions, but then also we're about it with how we talk and things like that. And before the workout, after the workout, generally we have, 2 or 3, maybe 5 minutes to be able to give them a little quick motivation. Hey, let's get a good workout in, or, hey, talk about the workout. Coach Finley, what do you do as far as delivering a message to your athletes, whether it's at the end of a training session, pregame speech type things? What type of message do you try to leave your athletes with your training sessions?
Well, man, obviously the seasons, like I said, haven't been going the way we planned. So at the end of the day, man, what my message I've been giving these guys the last few weeks is, whatever you start, you got to finish. I say life's not going to go always how you plan. And you're not just going to quit on life. You're not going to quit when adversity strikes. And our guys have done a great job of responding, man. The guys play extremely hard every single week. However, we're extremely young, and it shows in some cases. But at the end of the day, man, what I want these guys to know is, like, no matter what, like, what our record is, we're gonna fight, and you're gonna finish, and that's where the true measurement of a man is through adverse situations, not when things are going good, but when things are rough, things are rocky. And then, I'm always sharing with them, do not grow tired of doing good. At the proper time, you're gonna reap a harvest. So these guys know that, like, when they're done, like, it's gonna be light at the tunnel. And some things God put us through, like, we don't know why, but it's all about our outlook. Like, if we hang our head and say, "Woe is me," or if we say, "Hey, you know what, God, what are you trying to show me through this situation?" And I think that's the biggest thing that God is teaching me right now through this situation, because, again, I've never been in this situation. However, my wife, she's been my number one fan, keeping me motivated, making sure I show up every day with my hair on fire, send the temperature for our guys, send the temperature for our staffs, and, tuning out any noise unless it's positive.
And a couple of things stood out to me there, Coach, from what you're saying. Number one, we control what we can control, right? A lot of times we can't affect wins and losses, so we just got to control what we can control. I think the guys, I'm sure, take a ton away from that, being under you and watching your behavior on a daily basis in spite of the situation. Mm-hmm. And then the second thing that I was thinking about is that a lot of times we learn more from our losses than our wins. And so, if you don't mind, can you touch on maybe the biggest lesson you've learned in your career as a strength and conditioning coach? It could be maybe the biggest mistake, or it could just be, one of the biggest lessons that you've learned in your time in strength and conditioning.
Yeah, I think I can answer a couple things on that. And at the end of the day, man, we're strength and conditioning is totally what my job, is not who I am. So again, you can say it, but it's very hard, especially being a young coach, not to take wins and losses home with you, not to take stuff home with you. But now, man, I've been very fortunate where God has given me peace and allowed me to go home, man. When I go home, it's to enjoy my wife and my little boy. I'm not taking this stuff at Troy or anywhere home with me.
And now, earlier in your career, and again, because I'm 27, and so I'm just getting started, and I just got married, and so I'm trying to find the work-life balance. What advice do you have for people, I guess, who maybe are a little younger in the profession and still, find their way and trying to separate work from home time? Any tips or anything like that?
I think my grandma said, "Baby, you'll understand it by and by. Keep it living." I just think it's something that you got to just keep it living to understand, man. You'll go home and you'll be all worried, all stressed out for what?
Yeah.
You got what I'm saying? So really, man, the advice that I would give the young coaches is, don't take it home with you. And I know certain things, certain players get under your skin and you get so worked up. But at the end of the day, don't take it home with you.
No, that's incredible advice. Receiving or learning how to receive that advice is sometimes harder than, we'd like to admit. Okay, yeah, but really, yeah, leave work at work and be fully present with where you're at. I know in my own life, I'm in a season where I'm about to get engaged, and I had my girlfriend, soon to be fiance, was with me at the soccer game, and I'm at work, so I'm still kind of in coach mode, and so I'm like telling her, hey, we got to do this, let's get this done, this, and she starts shutting down. And then later I have reflected on, I'm like, man, I was just all about efficiency. But like, if you look at Jesus with the relationships, man, he was all about being there, being fully present, showing them that love, stepping out. It wasn't efficient for him to stop at certain places and to heal people, and yet that's how he gives us the example to follow. Well, Coach, I also wanted to ask you, you were talking about one of the lessons you learned in strength and conditioning. What about as a man of God? What's been a lesson that God has been teaching you? Obviously this season you mentioned that, but just in your life as a Christian, what has been a common theme or something God has been teaching you that you'd want to give some advice to a younger Christian strength coach that's listening to this?
I think it's very important for younger Christian strength coaches. Man, you have to have like-minded people around you. You have to have like-minded people that you can talk to, and everybody needs someone. So first mistake you can make is thinking you can do it all on your own. If you have that mindset, if you don't have godly counsel, you're setting yourself up for failure. If you don't have people that are investing in you as much as you're giving out, then you're setting yourself up for failure. It's kind of that bucket analogy. Like if your bucket is full and you're always pouring out, and you're never refilling it or having someone to refill your bucket, at the end, you're going to be out. And when you're out, that's when those tough times are going to hit you. And that's when, you're going to be without. So you gotta have like-minded people around you. You got to have some mentors. You got to have people that build you up and fill your bucket up also.
I couldn't agree more, Coach. And now, and my next thought is, do you do anything with your staff in terms of staff development to fill their buckets up?
Yes, man. I'm always having my staff over to the house, spending time with them, just showing them that, man, we're more than just strength coaches, and showing them we're people. And my wife, man, she spoils them. She makes them cookies every week and things like that, some sweets, man. So I think she's been tempting me, man. I've been on my keto kick for about 3.5, 4 months. So I think she's just been trying to see if she's gonna break me. But I haven't given in.
Wow. Don't they have like the keto cookies now?
I don't. I think I've seen some of those. Right now, I don't want to fool with them. I just want. I just want to stay dialed in.
Strict. Yeah.
But at the end of the day, for staff, Con Ed, man, I think we're always sharpening the sword. Just telling them, we can never grow complacent. We always got to constantly learn. Like, my way is not the only way. My way is not the best way. And it's a lot of sharp guys out here, man. Take what they're doing. Boyle talks about it all the time. He's a guy that I'm really into, about stealing ideas from other people. And, there's a lot of guys that's been here, ton of research, ton of years of experience. Don't be afraid to take ideas from them.
Oh, that's awesome, Coach. I had one more question for you before we do our fast finishers. And it is, kind of related to what we were talking about earlier. Our platform is to share Christ. We are a Christian first and then a coach. We are, Christ is our primary role. How do you go about sharing Christ with your actions and with your words, not only to your staff and to the coaches you work with, but also to your athletes
how do you do a good job with like presenting that to them and using this opportunity, this platform God's blessed you with as a coach, you know, to influence them?
I think just every day that you show up, you are who you are, man. I think just being authentic with everybody around me, with my players, just being positive with the coaches, my staff. I think just that consistency there is every day you're gonna get the same person.
I love that. And for our department, we our core values or our ethos is how we call it the 4 C's: culture, communication, character, and then the last one is consistency. And when I think of our head strength and conditioning coach here, just to give him a shout out real quick, since I've known him for the past about 6 years, every single day I have seen him, he is the same person. And it's excellence, you know, every day. But it just, if he's going through something outside of here, no one would ever know it in the office. You know, obviously me and him will have a conversation, you know, at the appropriate time, but, you know, it's not bleeding out onto the floor, and, you know, it's not bleeding into staff meetings. And I respect, you know, the world of you for saying that. And I agree. I think if the athletes see us being consistent, I think it just inspires them, you know, in their walk or in their life, whatever they're doing, that they can be consistent too. And I'm sure if you ask them, and meetings that they have probably with their head coaches for their sport, a lot of times coaches are saying, you know, they want to see consistency, or what have you done for me lately? You know, those types of things. And so if they can at least see it from us, I think that's a huge positive we can bring to the table for them. And so just finishing up, Coach, a couple questions that we ask all of our guests that come on the show to wrap things up. First one, what's your favorite book or a book you'd recommend to other coaches out there?
Man, I got a list of favorite books. I don't know if I have just one favorite one. Recently, I just finished The System for as a training book, and man, that's a wealth of knowledge in that book. Man, it's probably one of the best training books that I've ever read. With the ton of knowledge and everything they have in there, man. I would recommend every coach, every young coach, to really buy that book for his personal growth book. I'm a big John Maxwell fan. I like a lot of his stuff. I like a book I read last year, Extreme Ownership with Jocko. That was a really good book. And then just as simple as John Gordon, The Energy Bus, like, you know, that was a great book on positivity. And obviously the Bible, man, there's tons of life lessons and things in there that you can't go wrong with.
Awesome. Love it. Cool. Next one. Speaking of the Bible, that leads into my next one. Favorite story or verse from the Bible?
Man, plenty of stories. I'm gonna tell you one right here. I had reread this one. I know everybody grew up listening to the David and Goliath story.
Yeah.
Man,
Yep.
Just like what I like to do with books, I like to read them. Every year I try to reread a book I may have read past and just kind of see where I'm at. But man, I read that David and Goliath book probably a few months ago, the story. And man, just looking at that story, like understanding that, you know, David was in position to kill the giant because David was prepared. Like a lot of people know the story, but they don't know that David, you know, with his job, it wasn't the most pleasant job. Like David he was a hurdler. So he took pride in his job. And it made me think, like, whatever position, wherever your title is, whatever you have, like, you got to take pride in it, man. You may be the fifth coach, or you may be the guy that the coach say stock the refrigerator up. But David took pride in that position that God had given him. And, you know, he fought off lions, he fought off bears. And, you know, little David, when it came time for someone to step up and fight a giant, David was like, hey, I'm already prepared for this moment. Like, the moment wasn't too big for him, but it's all about him just being obedient, man. So that story, man, just looking at it now at 35, like, man, like that story just went up another notch in my book. You know, I grew up hearing about like the underdog wins, but really reading that story again and looking at it like, man, David, he took pride in his work. He didn't have the most fascinating job, and just being obedient in that work, he was positioned to kill Goliath, and then he got elevated, so that was an interesting story. I really like that story.
Yeah, and I appreciate you explaining it like that, because that's a really cool way of looking at it. We always, like you said, we've always heard it as he's the underdog, but really he's been putting in the work. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Really cool. Last one. How do you define success?
Growing daily. Each day, I think if you're constantly growing, and you can constantly see the fruits of your labor, then I think you're successful, because God wants to elevate us all. God wants his children to be taken care of. God wants us to have a prosperous life. And if you're growing daily, not saying that you're not going to have some rough patches, but if you're growing daily, then I think you're going to be successful.
And that's something I think now that we're talking about more as a profession is the process. I feel like I've heard that kind of come up on social media, books, all different things, just talking to people, as the process, right, over the product. And so many times I think in our microwave society, we love the product, and it might take a little longer, than we expect. But I love that you mentioned, the growth process. And I think that's a wealth of knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Coach Finley, it's been an incredible opportunity to get to do this. I've known you for a while, but first time I ever met you, I'm over at Southern Miss, and to start talking to you, get to hear your story, and you were just really open and vulnerable about, your love for people, and very relaxed and chill coach. But at the same time, like you said, you're able to hold people accountable and be tough on them. But it's a love that comes from your heart for athletes. Well, Coach, if people wanted to get in touch with you, if we had some listeners that wanted to reach out to you, how could they get in touch with you?
Man, they could touch me by email, SaJason Finley, Finley @troy.edu.
Awesome. And then one thing that we're trying to do is, pray for our coaches and pray for our guests that are on the show. So, Coach, if you wouldn't mind just sharing with us one or two things that we could be praying for you, and I'll close us off with doing a prayer.
Well, yeah, man, I definitely appreciate you guys, man. I appreciate you guys reaching out to me, man. I appreciate you guys even just thinking enough about me to have me on this podcast, man. I'm excited about what you guys are doing. Excited that a man here is getting ready to walk down that aisle, man, and
Let's go.
Let's go.
And with you, man, like, excited with your wife, man. Let her encourage you, man. Continue encouraging her also. The Bible say equally yoked, we're the head, but they are the tail, man. So, it's all about working together. And like we're talking about, iron sharpen iron. So the more you lead her, the more she's going to help lead you. And, we're all going to have our seasons. And right now, I can truly say I'm in my season with my wife, man. She's been awesome, man. Just to get texts from her every morning, like I need it. Just as like we talked about that bucket analogy, from always pouring out into these guys, like she's been there just pouring into me. So that's exciting to have.
Well, that's awesome. Well, if you don't have anything else for me to be praying for you about, I'll just go ahead and close us off.
No, man, pray for I'm sorry about that. Pray for our head coach here, man.
Awesome.
Coach Lindsay, I think he's a really great leader, a great man, and obviously at times it ain't what it is what it looks like, And right now we're 3-5, and we could easily be 6-2. However, that's not the case right now. And what people don't understand is coaches all around, man. I think we turned football and forgot about, it's the greatest game to build men, and we turned it into the greatest games of wins and losses. and a lot comes with those wins and losses. So he's a father, he's a husband, and all the men that put countless hours in upstairs. Also, man, our OC, our DC, all those coaches, man, and even our staff, that we just have the wisdom, man, to to learn what God is showing us during the season, and that we don't grow tired of chipping away and tired of building men and tired of doing things the right way.
For sure.
And for our wives at home, that they can just stay strong and, continue to be uplifting. And our kids at home, a lot of these coaches' kids go to schools, and, the parents probably tell them outside talk how bad coaches they are and things like that, and all type of stuff that they deal with, man. So just God will just be able to really just give us peace and through the tough times right now.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that. Well, dear Lord, I just thank you for this opportunity that we had to be able to do this episode. We thank you for providing it through technology and through the willingness of Coach Finley. God, I pray that this situation that he's in with the season not going how he would like it to go and not in his plan, Lord, but I just pray that he would learn how to trust in you. God, I pray that he would be an example of how to deal with hardship to the coaching staff, to the athletes, Lord, to his family. God, I pray that he would lead with humility and vulnerability and continue to be positive and grateful and thankful for all the blessings you've given him, God. We pray specifically for the head football coach at Troy, Coach Lindsey. God, I just pray that you would, God, please give him peace that surpasses all understanding. We know that peace is through you, Jesus. The wins and the losses, they are important, but at the end of the day, God, we know that building young men and women into stronger men of God and women of God, Lord, who fear you and who love you with their whole heart, soul, mind, and strength. God, that's what it's about. And so I pray that you would just allow the whole coaching staff to be able to focus on developing character and increasing their influence in a positive way, ultimately to have an eternal impact on the people they're around, Lord. I also pray for just the families, the wives, and the sons and daughters of these coaches, God, that you would help them to be grounded in your word, God. I pray that they would have courage to encourage their father and their husbands, Lord, and their dads. I pray, God, that they would learn how to ultimately trust in you, our Heavenly Father. And Lord, I pray that you would bless Coach Finley with his family, bless him with the rest of his day today. And God, again, we thank you so much for dying on the cross for us and for just giving us this opportunity to spur each other on and to be able to pray for one another. So we ask all this in your son's holy and precious name. Amen.
Amen. Coach Finley, thanks for coming on the show.
Man, thank you, man. Thank you guys again for having me, man. And you guys, man, y'all have a great rest of your days.
Thanks, Coach. You too.
Awesome.
God bless.
See you later, Coach.
Thank you for listening to the Built to Last podcast, where we encourage, equip, and empower coaches to live out their core values where they live, work, and wherever they build relationships. Have a blessed day, striving to build lasting impact.